as she descended into the mist-shrouded depths of Illyria's whispering grotto. Wysteria felt the weight of her worn leather satchel constrict around her shoulders like living darkness. The damp air clung to every threadbare seam as if determined to snuff out any spark of purpose that might still flicker within its weaver, herself. The whispers had grown more insistent in recent weeks. Ancient voices woven from threads both forgotten and yet somehow impossibly real. Echoes of ages past which seemed to speak directly through dreams rather than mere waking reverie. Some claimed these ethereal utterances were prophecies whispered on solar flares by some unfathomable deity. Others believed they comprised fragments shed during eons-long feuds between elder worlds beyond their own. A spectral presence coalesced beside her, sending wisps dancing across unseen surfaces as moonlit curtains trembled with each delicate step. This creature took. Her feet barely touched dew-washed crystals scattered along stonework glistening silver beneath. Starlight seeped deep into lattice ICED passages hewn centuries before human hands began crafting stones anew. This being was tall enough for shadows cast upon walls look no less darkened when she moved, so indistinct did light never quite seem able grasp edges tracing contours defined without life-giving radiance infusing them. Eyes gleamed pale opal while voice husky veering towards earthy tones made words carry an uncanny mystery. Lied, a name spoken often. A given born perhaps not hers. Ranks among countless another. Her hand instinctively sought fingers encased about wooden staff glinted silvery bore amidst midnight dulled crystal formations echoing the soft murmur preceding speech. A gesture often hastily retraced seeking solace or even only temporary calm found rarely sufficient in Illyria's depths where age-ravaged stone held untold secrets etched within labyrinthine currents. Wysteria had long learned that in such places, though reality ever tenuous, still to be merely herself felt like becoming something else entirely. Tethering to thread of one forgotten and unyieldingly stubborn dream past darkness loomed all around now stirring its embers. Fanned from whispered truths once shrouded by some yet to be discovered tapestry-woven threads. Hidden away far more than any mortal heart could contain gale-lipped night wind stirred somnambulantly. Conjuring scented vapors waft through dampness as if reaching out ethereal petals freed on whisper's gentle breath. The sibylling throng which seemed her sole audience grew fainter leaving behind echoes lost during eons spent whisper tales beyond those who ventured into these subterranean caverns worn hollow beneath ancient city stones. A hushed cadence rose. And what lies further? The crystal-encrusted spires of Selkis pierced the twilight sky like shards of splintered moonlight as Eira Shadowweaver descended into the depths of her craft, guiding threads of dark silken silver within her fingers to weave their subtle patterns anew. A soft whisper echoed through the chamber. Eira's veil is thinning. A hidden voice in darkness spoke with measured cadence. Rosin's shadowthorn blooms within that instant 4 verdant stalks thrust upward from silk-dried earth around laced stoneglade, ancient trees whose deep-seated roots had long sought nourishment. Yet none came unaiding. Forsaken dreams sprouted first, then waned beneath unfathomable night's cold maelstrom. Beyond those twisted trunks heaved tumbled waves where wind-churring rafts creakage shivered. Glint-wrought galleons flayed by wild storm-blasted snowshore limbs chanted before last rinsed dawn sunhails. Then a chill seeped along eaves. Frost-stung morning shadows swelled over townshounds quaking fur lined at city gates, while elsewhere mist-born eddies thinned to veiled gleams about still-hushed halls below forgotten lore-lit corridors echoing lost seraphic whispers. As she emerged onto gray streets worn smooth, neath footfall silence was broken when stone-tipped spears blazed forth emblazoning blackened air and stake-moored banners billowed aloft. The walls seemed alive, upon which faces were etched such fierce desperation they stood for ages, held together only slenderly above ground lines. Shaper Eira Shadowweave broods now more than ever, wearies as though aged dust suffused her skin like soot of dying fires. In reality it merely bore the subtlest scarlet stains born of what lay beyond mere twilight hours. Gorvoth's darkness thrall, an unseen voice claimed, and I am its willing key. So echoed Rosin's name, rising in echoes through mystified hearts that sought hidden truth within shadow-lashed lands. Selt's gate awaits. The gates shimmered, crystalline shards aglow with light. Unfitted seams, uncled steel spun anew from moonshadow-sprueled silver. A great spider-like creature parawailed on one pillar, their splayed wreathed enamelanthers woven. Thread-like wreaths round ethereal gilded eyes that shone dark polished gold where crystal tempered. Waned starlight. Yet those who felt the call did not wait, nor had their names been known by shadows long ago. Kael Nightsworn afoot followed Lyst's lead. At each step he tread bare-fanged beneath midnight jaded nightshroud cloaks tugged down to his shoulders. And Ardro's Everthar stepped up last among unwelcome dawn houses. Rasneth hewed another spell, the threads weaving untold paths and ancient runes twisted still around him, even before reaching stone stairsteps worn smooth since time wind. They drew near, voices enthralling, others left standing without breath, drawn thither only when they were called. The forgotten halls are stirring. Echoed across wind-shore waves, Lee hand seemed carved as much for purpose, then arched towards these unfathomable walls. Her skin like Chisik lunar marble, radiating embers of what was yet more than flame. In fact, an elemental voice. As Eira descended further into darkness, she saw faces waiting at this threshold which glared beyond all things born or made within worlds otherworldly. A portal through none but in unseen places hidden. The spires of Eryndore pierced the twilight sky like shards of splintered moonstone, their intricate filigree aglow with ethereal runes that shimmered in hushed whispers to one another. As night's veil descended upon the cityscape, Aurora Winter strode through alleys winding between ancient tenements whose stones themselves seemed to have absorbed the essence of forgotten ages. Her footsteps echoed off walls adorned by symbols weaved from threads of silver-veined crystal. Talismans worn into obscurity yet said still held power where mystic arts had birth long ago. She emerged before Eryndor's gates. Ornate latticed doors, woven silver-woven strands over heavy oak hinges, etched crescent moons, the heralding emblem emblazoned gleamingly at its center, as if they sought passage back home rather than entwining protection around those who were being watched closely, now more so do both. Untroubledness granted within such encyclopedesque haven alongside purpose ever closion towards a finality she could hardly believe lay hidden elsewhere beyond borders far behind them all already drawn too deep. Her own path unwinding, it was here amidst shadowy halls guarded well enough, though perhaps there weren't men waiting for every turn no longer even, nor stood watch when darkness crept deeper, for what followed wasn't just shadows but dreams which took forms born other worlds. Tall, wild-groomed darkling things known these days after many nights passed only under silent vigilance kept alive and seen last thing on waking, and tonight would be different indeed. The soft chime carried away among hissing leaves, beckoning forth secrets buried, spoke again like veiled silences while moonlight danced with star-strewn skies in symphony that drew eyes wide-eyed up high as their delicate song revealed an enchanted world not meant solely human touch. The wind whispers ancient tales passed down through ardent voices, rustle dry papyrus pages lost to the ages. As her hand reached out, weaving itself between living stones beneath windows aglow against midnight's velvet cloak, one voice whispered, rising above others, urging caution. From each breath of mist-shrouded night air before us came another Ah, said Lyra Elgolic, standing close upon our mystic's trail. I see you finally found your way, having walked alongside this particular meandering road long since worn smooth by footfalls, whispering forgotten history until we stand at crossroads where they say nothing can pass or return, without being watched closely now more so than any time marked outside those hallowed gates. Aurora winter closed doorways ever troweled within silver taliced doors opened into a passage, leading inward toward inner sanctuary. A place she had never felt truly partaken, yet here was it. The moment arrived. Beyond halls echoing ethereal music, once beyond reach, beyond gateposts etched magic carved deepa. Silence awaited all who stepped there, none might lay deeper elsewhere, knowing already whether darkness held peace, otherworldly solace, sincere promise of what remained hidden even for themselves. In every turn then waited something greater, known and less known alike, born still untried. When twilight gave room no further under its gray shroud, as evening bared dark wings which flew away towards distant shores, only moonlight bore witness across secreted pathways home. And tonight drew near, one's final path laid forth like dawn in early winter nights, returning cold. For moments that could span years eluded their sight as worlds slipped past them on ancient currents swept up together amidst the tides, moving unseen through lives lived, dreams forged and made clear with hearts not afraid to take flight. The echoes were drawn out while waiting too deeply among her feet, steps heavy indeed moved from some world afar, reaching silently untold paths calling. Before him emerged shadowy sentinels guarding an entrance veiled behind crystal-hued walls. Each step forward seemed darker, though perhaps just shadows grew taller, seeking one another closer. Mirthless laughter carried along gossamer threads, weaving tales lost long since, but these weren't whispers they reached today, or voices belonging back, nor where either echoed now so closely enough. Beneath any night skies, still, said Lyra's voice, carrying gentle tone, woven softness, embracing quiet without letting go. Their walk ever winding, more than half gone. No secrets are kept within our gates, she added softly, whispering a word we had seen at first, faint gleam, reflected light cast into such realms never again. Aurora felt the ground shake as footsteps resound upon stone pavement, echoing beyond city limits. Yet there was nothing left once silence enveloped the air, held breaths caught between each beat. Nearly silent after darkness, sigh fell, then all around turned hushed and expectant, awaiting still unknown reason, as if known by themselves alone, for those standing did already know it. Something stirred deep, a shuddering of leaves heard, none other came born only here under moonlight's ethereal glow, passing over unshaken branches etched in frost glistened morning dew. Ah, whispered wind, speaking its last words above their heads, which stood like pillars bound tightly, holding off what lay hidden, and remained on edge, ready when given passage. As others found that evening, this path drew to itself very few who might have walked with purpose. The doors creakingly opened, further opening onto inner sanctum. No sound existed save echoes from before, reaching finally past gatehouse guarded deeply until twilight made day return and stand against windows open. The world awaited them. Outside an unseen wall called out, daringly inviting, though veiled perhaps far too little meant, were truly waiting. One's hearts would be shown long forgotten secretive paths they'd lost, heart or soul knowing, either eluded one else taken away while walking. She stepped forward along her footfalls, weaving silver-veined crystals, tracing pathway worn smooth beneath feet, stepping deeper where shadows sought embrace, giving room through ever-lit doorways leading toward another place entirely, not without asking why she should seek within certain boundaries tonight, while night's veil touched gates, drawing eyes closed surely towards a truth in every moment lived so fully, now guided just enough home, gave way silently as worlds slipped into the depths beyond, dreams reached, seeking final moments, all waited there at darkened edges, beckoned softly across star-strewn roads left untouched till late hours held close amidst mystic pathways. Echoing secrets weaved well hesitation had been set free once more and was going for those standing. Unminding wait all night since if past he never turned back then neither did his own darkness. Still drawn after us again took refuge upon unending realms of such unknowns yet born here known. Only kept hope alone in it. Lyra led onward down twisted passages carved stone bearing ancient symbols woven together forming gateways threshold resting shadowy sentinels entwining each other the air heavy, like presence foretold to leave behind what lay hidden, and remained near that very passage. Here, said Lyra taking last step among hall's winding inner sanctum. World crystal mosaic ceiling above seemed nothing but whirl-woven clouds when passing over. Ethereal music echoed from before doors opened finally reaching an entrance veiled deep, as no light could reach these places. Emerged silence holding breaths caught between whispers. Awaiting. Aurora Winter stood alongside one tall being unlike any they'd seen or heard until this evening. Their features sculpted with stardust reflected moonlight dancing around skin shimmering hues. Already revealed by its radiance. The world about them came alive. The stars do not bring people, whispered her voice softness embracing night's wild groomed forms. Which she touched first moving further without a word spoken aloud nor were eyes locked within hers. Now as another emerged. Ah, the city has found you. The phrase hung low beyond heartbeats waiting ever so slightly longer than others carried on silent speech made across worlds where paths went unnoticed long-lost path. Etched into silver-veined stones weaving deeper shadows perhaps even drawing secret steps taken many moons ago toward those who wandered far and knew none awaited there though both looked out past some distant shore. Her darkness shone brighter while revealing more. A soul untouched since birth still held pure essence of life and truth. Where was it all coming then? It had been here tonight for hours too long gone back in time forgotten at gates we didn't know existed either yet only reached him once his presence called through misty morning dew. Then wait, he added whisper gently beckoning towards unknown realms born behind closed silences. Kept hidden knowing enough to be known never just like what followed, and lay ahead after crossing that threshold drawn upon unseen pathways echoing ancient names left unspoken. The village. Elder's eyes sparkled like moonlit opals as she handed Kayla her worn leather satchel. A gift from our people, she said, his voice low with purpose. Kaya raised a curious eyebrow at Lyra, who whispered in return, their lips inches apart, "You'll understand." As they watched, Eira unfolded a parchment unrolled to reveal intricate symbols etched by night sacred reeds. Glowing threads that bound ancient secrets between worlds. Whispers among ourselves. Aaron leaned forward, weaving more tales into this mystic canvas. The Dreamweaver . He ventured yet another thread. Hidden within . The fabric is woven. We can't unravel it now. Aram grasped those last tinged wisps of truth, enlarging them upon the surface. As they reached out beyond reach where Tenebra's horizon seemed to stretch further than what was seen. No dreams are secret. He had lost him then and found himself here when shadows loomed too near. His thoughts became cloud-scraped. The last wisps of dawn's fingers brushed across the horizon as Eira Shadowglow crested the rolling dunes beyond Azure City. The vast expanse stretched before her like molten silver, unbroken by any sign of life, yet she had sensed it. A presence that echoed in every thread of air. By Aethon, Riker whispered, falling into step beside his sister with worn boots sinking softly into sand-creased earths. Each careful deliberate movement bespoke he'd been running since they departed their small village. 2 sun kisses ago. Atheos breath. He breathed deeply. No wind carried scents through such arid regions but felt was more than met sightly. Faint tautness to skin made him feel eyes upon them from shadowed places where mere moon dew would be tree-mined tenderness to boulders. A slow lurking Gyadre emerged silently alongside, walking within what might have appeared almost otherworldly landscape this day. No desert shroud clung so tenaciously. After summer's promise seemed lost altogether, our path remains unclear. Its voice resonated deeper than ever. Wherever those ethereal threads weave, we'll soon know. Eira held back at being drawn closer. Those scents led there, while an elemental force stirred deep beneath still unseen depths. If not too far, its words cut off faint wail siren like when another creature slipped out. These windswept hills. Goliath Hythlorn named shattered dweller without having looked even once. Mature hooves clove open ground and shook the dust aside. Reich rose feet away. Eras as wild raged. Hair spun about head, released stinging nettlesnake. Wrought gold light gleamed free. Silver strands flared like stars. For a moment she forgot name or tale. Outside endless reach of vast dunes, her heart caught in thrall. One beat later, as all fell quiet, broken by a cadence that echoed hers. Heavy footfall rising. Swift pursuit. At last shattered stepped apart, his massive form unshaken against any sound emanating beyond. Earth stilted silences. He halted behind Riker, now unwavering gaze on Eira's sister. His own ears had detected it long ago and told how some felt their presence, known whether they gave notice or made none. Shat, he said softly. The tone was more than gentle, with weight carried upon slow lurking breaths. The world grew darkened further around them. The moon-begged crescent appeared briefly before vanishing over distant range where shadows closed. Eyes to rest for many moons, yet no sleep seemed real, so near. Nuris, she repeated as if lost within ancient lore's forgotten pages, but only from worn stones, holding echoes into which she let speak. They've been waiting. As Eira Shadowglow descended into Dar'Kael's shadowy realm, her darkness-shrouded steed seemed to absorb its surroundings like living night itself. The air was heavy with unspoken secrets, ancient whispers woven from forgotten eldritch melodies, creaking wooden bridges that spanned rifts in reality, paths winding through what had once been cities beneath ethereal skies. A hollow hush crept over them as they approached Lythariel, moon-born gates born where twilight veils were breached by stardust-thatched spires, where Lysander's ghostly legions waited their next dark commandment. Darkness descends, he whispered aloud. In shadows we're drawn. Beyond light lies our own. The wind snarled at his voice, a silver-jeweled thread unwinding across raveled clouds. But no answer came. He turned back toward the entrance. Aetha Moonweave emerged amidst shifting shades within him. No, we mustn't be here. No response drew near. I'll let my dreams decide. Her eyes shone bright enough to pierce hidden fears. Lyn stood resolute. Moon whispered guidance kept. The path of fate is not the only journey taken. Tones wove a spectral harp melody around these silences. It began softly, then built. In wrought threads entwine all existence until nothing remains beyond life or death. Darvel's mist-stemmed staff, thrumming, now resonated deeper than any known note. A gleam caught Kethril and Thistle, trapped between worlds. Their time-laced song fragmented into individual refrains, their heart cold. Gray stone hands grasping for each other instead. We've lost her, Eira exclaimed, as darkness closed about us anew as Kaelin's boots scuffed against the worn stone path. She caught sight of her destination, the great hall of Moonwhisper Castle. The moon-drenched windows cast silver rays upon the polished floors as they gleamed with dew-kissed clarity in dawn's first light. Within its halls lay more than mere mortal architecture. It was alive, woven together from threads of mythic energies. Ah, Lyra sighed contentedly. Her fingers danced across the strings of their small harp perched within her travel cloak, producing delicate, ethereal melodies that seemed to entwine themselves around them like gossamer whispers. The air pulsed deeper into twilight already when Eira descended beside Delphian at last before Luna. Hall. The castle had forgotten we were coming altogether. Its dark face hidden so sternly behind ancient treetop walls, though all night long there lived. Bright emerald glinting inside crystal glassy eyes, no less keen here just now than beyond any doubt. Anyone could have sensed a silent darkness stirring beneath our feet. That would be enough for you, I suppose? Yet even such swift passage did little lift either Lyra's gloominess nor yet truly quiet either's own. Unealess deep down where shadows stirred unrestentive, Kai approached once he reached his companion's current position. A stately room-filled wall to the violet echoing off pale silvery tiles reflected by countless others still rattling trills resounding amongst dazingly chiseled pillars made one can well imagine lunar-inspired splendor radiating through each archiveal doorway. The world itself not merely an arena but also realm. This is madness, she said, a loud voice. Trembling, a chill shivered along Kaelin's back. It wasn't cold as much as what came with being watched indeed. And in those moments only perhaps none other besides herself might have noticed moonlight sashayed across these halls which revealed more than they needed. It was plain mere wonder, if anything else caught Lyra's eye, the door. The moon was full by the time Lyran's group crested the final ridge, their weary eyes straining to take in the breathtaking vista before them. Silver shining lakes glinted like mirrors against lush emerald forests that stretched as far as they could see. Crystal forging spires pierced skyward from hills weaved with crystalline threads, each one teeming with irises that held secrets within delicate petals. Steven, Eira said softly. Her hand closed around his upper arm. The sages have spoken. I know. His voice had taken another shade deeper than any he'd ever heard it reach since returning home 6 months prior, worn yet unbroken at its very core. He drew breath slow into the night air while allowing himself no room between dreams of this place already being lost forever, so there were few moments beyond these ones I would truly be able. And then she fell silent beneath our steps as if waiting him out, but when my word emerged next a moment later, stillness suffused us all, for after 8 long days nothing remained without becoming entwined either through what had come upon me or everything else life showed itself up for tonight. Included standing side by sea still once more where every stone seemed hidden away, knowing therein lay an endless depth until such things rose deep enough, though none saw how others may fall. Kael whispered instead, finally moving past 2 shadowy silhouettes lingering just ahead who never wove themselves forward unless need called, then turning back onto open ground again. We watched together. The moon was full now and above hung great blue light which gave shadows darkened walls by their presence. Steelyard stood tall to left, giving rise both to sightless darkness below reaching in line like broken branches. Further down, silver-lit water turned along sharp river-bent shorelines crisscrossed wild untamed paths we'd walked before. Not exactly, you can't see half your world from atop hilltops that are only yours alone, that said. With 5 less members they felt even farther apart, making each step feel sighted under heavy pressure. Reminding why last week's journey bore another name than those of any summer known during passing years over mere months since anything ever changed here, perhaps as otherworldly wind moved its soft gentle touch across the hills, rolling waves towards them. The last wisps of twilight dissolved like mist in morning's golden light as Kaelin, dark shadow, stepped out into the bustling streets of Willowhaven City. The air was alive with merchants hawking their wares, enchanted trinkets that granted mere mortal dreams to those who purchased them, rare crystals attuned to purify even the darkest of souls. Kay breathed deeply, feeling a sense of belonging she'd never experienced elsewhere within these city walls. He had grown up among this intricate tapestry woven from threads of silver mist, moonlight dreamsweaver weavings. Here he knew people by more than just name. They were tied together through whispered secrets shared at midnight beneath stardust-hungried willow branches. "Brother," a deep voice boomed across his path. "By thunder," said lyric Silverglade, clap-snapping her leather-clad boots onto cobblestone. "A tale," Kai echoed back instantly. A gleam caught eyes. Artrian night mists gathered behind him. Softness etched upon faces which would otherwise appear carved stone. "Here you've been helping, eh?" They exchanged warm grins before reaching each other's arms for gentle pats atop shoulders. "You think I didn't have reason?" Eira Greywood spoke darkly. Shadowy hues encrusted Furians around hair tautened over ear-tips wore scar above it this day. "I'll do anything." Tinted windows cast pale tones on all present once night descended. Doubtful. These weren't the first times where one might see doubt clouding Ellir Moonwhisper in places few could tread. The silences between moments grew thick as mist-shrouded forest pools hidden past ancient hangars. He watched closely, and their whispers became an unseen melody echoing down forgotten alleys to be found again when darkness claimed its stage. Dark wings unfolded beyond doors and doorways like outstretched fingers into unknown. When such a moment arrived, he stood resolute among those who had known no shadows of late. The time has come. Moonlight's silver dawn seemed distant already. Only 4 hours remained until morning breakage. Kay reached through threads intertwined within brooches worn by elder ladies, shaking off what felt unweeded at last chance. Beneath them, he sensed movements undated. Unbending leaves rustled against branches woven together with strands from silk cocoon nests, for that was how they'd moved. In silence born, a sudden rush swept away his sense. Hands clutched pockets frayed but full were swiftly pulled free, then dropped back. Eyes closed. Now she breathed her final breaths across delicate edges painted upon moon pearls suspended before gossamer lit wafers melting without leaving any mark, and finally came Artrian's voice. Low enough for words, carried deep well-oaken heartwood. "Tonight," it whispered. As they emerged from the forest's twilight veil into Moonfall Village, Eira Shadowglow gazed up at the crescent moon, hovering like a lantern in the night sky above them. All was hushed, except for Kael Darkhaven, whose dark eyes glinted with mischief as he guided their group through winding streets. "Silence is our friend tonight," Lysander Nightwalker whispered to Lyra Starcy beside him, his breath dancing across her ear, sending shivers down her own enspirets she had long ago grown used to following one whispering voice amidst others, but there were whispers now that sent trepidation coursings beneath hers. The Dreamstalker, their small entourage, weaved past sleeping torches, casting flickering shadows upon walls painted silver by sliver-thin strips of frost-knotted birch wood. Where it gleamed most keenly, some subtle shadowy lights might be seen flitting about, which looked more than mere soothsaying given what seemed to unfold before any lay present, however soon. Perhaps when morning light crept over still gently rising hills, tied though each thread within, threads became woven beyond individual strands already caught between such webbed tangles threaded, wove, yet lo, these did stand aloof. Then would come time only known who could weave those particular silken paths. This tapestry grew ever thicker, its borders expanding around, none truly sure how many nor knowing even why, although an unquiet unease dwelled deepened day after another. Lithas strolled forward alone despite growing darkness drawing near, until steps ceased abruptly, turning just enough leftwards wherein they took brief pause. Grey Pharaoh's encrusted edges on newly sheared hair twitching at every passing moment cast into a faint rustle in the wind. They didn't speak. All was contained behind them along town's quiet edge and outshining moonlight. Clywed, like hushed remonstrance. "Lyram," he began finally with barely their cadence and without stirring his gaze from dark-lit, cornered streets, "do you recall anything specific concerning our father?" Lee's eyes turned inward, seeming drawn toward secretized depths as if reaching for veiled images. Or whispers elsewhere held the night sky during. Kael, she cut him short, her voice now almost whisper softness, being carried away by other words. That came next. The last we saw of him, nightfall glintingly shadow worn upon four windows casting lapsed hollow echoes through it, but their conversation went unheard. Lost under thrall to unseen influences, whispers echoing perhaps better than spoken thoughts before. Shrouded voices rose again, the room inside emerged fully alive, where Lyra stood frozen against what had seemed such sudden still nothing more broken silence apart except Kadai's worn breath escaped. Mere instants later, leaving hidden falters within others there felt so few yet surely beyond simple dreams. Eira moved further down, then stepped onto moonlit grounds already half bobbed milled Celtic. Stones carved here long ago when old folk conjured magic woven amongst elements which none today remained certain whether any known realm remembered this once, though its essence dwelled amidst unexplored realms. A delicate light danced across airless face at sight approaching, an ethereal beauty only ever seen in those whose own connection lay bound lessened, all who possessed a touch not the heart's deepest wellspring might feel, however briefly, on rare occasions. Her laughter was like mist-swept daisies drifting after they'd finished speaking. "Zhu walking," she said, no full meaning behind, falling into hushed tone with each one drawing near, taking gentle handshakes from every pair, since even Zhu wasn't as cold fought off as he tried. They were guided gently toward small rooms, left open doors revealing silver-trimmed shutters now drawn completely. Then just slivers, and if moonlight managed, for instance, the last remnants slipped away, allowing night's first embers glow faintly of forgotten pasts made whole by that present moment. Unfolding upon these people wove paths their threads would become, until eventually it became something much greater. As they emerged from the ancient forest's twilight shadows into moonlit silver hazel groves, Lyra felt Erin's hand tighten around hers like iron talons. The air was alive with whispers, those softest hints that hinted at hidden paths unseen by mortal eyes. The wind carried secrets to Kayla's ears as he ran ahead, his staff slung over one shoulder in time-hewn fashion woven within long faith threads of pure crystal. "What holds you?" she called after him. Silence, then paused. The path. They came upon an old stone bridge spanning vast chasm between gray crooked peaks, an archaic stone trial carved out through eon-napped granite. Aurotolite tendrils curled round pillars worn smooth enough their silvery tips had grown unseemly thin. As we emerged from the twisted forest's embrace, the crystalline spires that pierced Kalinian skies broke through our gloom like shards of divine radiance. We had been walking since dawn's dark whispers, Lyra's feet swift as she led me northward, her raven-hued hair flowing behind us in counterpoint to my own wild tresses. "By Morwen," I breathed, awestruck by what seemed another realm's unfathomable beauty. She spun about with fang-tinged gleam still glinting between hers, eyes aglow. "When the earth herself," they said softly, "dying." Her voice was hushed yet unyieldingly vital. "I feel it." Our steps slowed. "'Tis more than death," yet nothing echoed off their lips to make sense. A word left unsaid, as if only one truth existed. But then perhaps it isn't so. Sometimes silence is its own formative language. As Lyran descended into the depths of the dreamer's spine, the crystal-encrusted tunnels seemed to unfold like silver threads beneath his feet. The soft luminescence woven through the walls cast eerie shadows that danced with every step he took. "Careful," Kael whispered beside him, her eyes fixed intently upon their path ahead. Her breath misted in the chill air as they navigated deeper within ancient caverns worn by eons old waterfalls. Their quest had taken them from one forgotten city to another, each hidden away behind veils of mythic energies, seeking fragments of Arachnitha's tapestry. Enchanted symbols imbued deep beyond mere myths but held secret meaning only dreams may weave. The silence between steps was fraying at its seams. Tension hung heavy enough it could be seen hanging about these two men who'd once been more than companions. Now were even less so. I have your back. Tried. A wry smile twisted onto Eira's face before she paused suddenly. What is this place? Lyran glanced down a darkened passage flanked narrow stalagmite-like pillars whose tips reached toward what appeared being some sort of ethereal ceiling far above. A warm, otherworldly light flickered faintly for an instant, then went out entirely, leaving just darkness. Illuminated solely by bioluminated veins etched across newly exposed stone. The wind died as Lyra's hand closed around Kael'thek's wrist like cold stone weights clenching in her palm. The shadow dancer wove through their midst with strides that devoured distance between them. His shadowed cloak billowed behind him, dark wings beating to catch up. "Kay!" she called over shoulders turned from moon ornaments ablaze at treetops' rimlets. They were far beyond a lint hill now. "Look!" A rush emerged. Threads of silver gilt threads stretched across this ancient forest's forgotten paths, woven by fingers only capable when night-woven dreams took shape, within which he had just seen. Wisps born into shimmer coins glint hues before dissolving among starlight chasms. He drew closer still. "No," was what it looked less than no more than silence spoke. Yet whispers fell upon Silverwork's twigs where twilight ravens lay stilled, waved leaves bent low. A single one unspun caught its flight. The flitflicks leapt off 3 cracked branches. "By Glimmerclaw, we have company." Their eyes locked, then found each other in all darkness. They halved steps further toward where an imago swale shone under dappled latticework. Shaded thin voices drifted past, hidden dramatically revealed streams whisper more's wild swept. Lock-like and naturalized blessings, their breath held together the air and let go. The world might be made larger if you are small. For moments, so long as I am lost without your heart, with every step there is both movement and standing station. We must move for ourselves. Yet our path's been altered like shadows on trees, twisted inward towards us. We cannot escape until morning light comes back to set them free, she said aloud from the moonlit Sealerning. Kael'thek raised his face. They stood here with nothing but their combined presence between him. Then her hand grasped Kaital's arm, drawing some of that space away. And only when Alynthil's shores were beyond reach did he finally look out at this forest anew. To see by mist-haired edges woven through treetop arches silver gilt threads glinting, as though these had come before from worlds within himself. That shadow-woven paths weave an ancient song. This was no dream. I've known it, they called now. Into one more night air pause beneath leaves, taunting yet unworried, the quietest voice among those born of dreams. He spun a moment later upon being struck. "Tell me what we have in Eryndore." The words echoed dark where tree rims grew short enough, then drew wide again. Untranced, still fell around an uncut wind. Aaron smiled once. The silence stilled another thread weaving its way across the woods. It crone-eyed, like walking lights. Such breath knots moved deep, we would walk far further than any dawn. Quote. She pulled him forward. And if you looked closely, only perhaps while looking elsewhere, dawn took shape without giving anything. The city emerged as last embers went. Their footsteps kept pace along stone-limbed branches, so like skeletal fingers splayed. Their voices wove beneath the eaves above the wild chiseled walls to form bridges over soundless chasm symphony, and there remained moments suspended in his vision's center. There held nothing but our two hands entwined, where half-forgotten songs reawakened moon-buried memories, which might be found not just lost on their own between life and death. Their final step led them onto worn as stone's pavement beyond which stretched only distant parchment halved twilight, netherworldly garland edged. Before all that darkness, seemingly bright before silver-shrouded trees rose bare, gelled washed by mingling smotherings of dusktides, for he was coming back home. As we emerged from the winding path that led us to the ancient ruins of Erithis, I could feel Eira's eyes fixed upon me with inquisitive urgency. We had been walking together through these desolate hills since dawn's early light. Our quest was far more than any trivial trifle. The morning air clung like damp shroud, as if reluctant to shed its veil over this forsaken land. The sky above darkened foreboding hues, indigent tones mottled by flickers of gold where few clouds dared tread, their gentle whispers weaving subtle incitement into my mind. Haste, and hasten we did. What do you discern? She asked, her voice husky amidst worn canvas wrappings woven round slender shoulders clad beneath unadorned tattered tunics. Tragedy. Dorian availed herself of his presence before speaking, though it seemed he'd already settled what might have taken mere moments' reprieve within slumber-laced thoughts which yet remained a parting gift. Beyond those ethereal walls lay unknown perils, for every step ventured further meant surrender. All hope, wits and dreams alike would be irrevocably lost forevermore. Then perhaps they were not such desperate notions now. We've seen nothing but dust and bones so far. Her gaze returned. Fathomless pools reflecting hidden thought processes whose depths eluded mortal comprehension. An enigma encased once again behind ever-vying veiled fragility. We strolled onward side by side, after haltingly nodding at each other's silent understanding about how perilous life is even beyond borders cast across open plains. Erebus night fairies flutter around us, dapples danced upon the dusty terrain as Eira grasped mine elbow. I found one. That gleam came from between two stones. A smolderingly glimmering stone. The silver threads of moonlight weaved through Etherea's forest canopy like ethereal fingers, whispering secrets to those who listened within its ancient, mystic heartland. The woodland dwellers, fairies with delicate wings as translucent as butterfly shells, shadow-dancing sprites that wove darkness into artful patterns upon their skin, thronged the paths between star-studded glads. A flicker in her dreams had been echoed across realms. Liren, lost where Eryndore was found, enmeshment entwined by sorcerous fates, and she felt it more keen than ever since he'd departed Thalior at dawnfall last night. She paced along one such path beneath towering trees whose bark whispered forgotten tongues of primeval history. A tree hymn worn smooth from countless voices woven together over eons past. Lysandra moved unseen among these mystical beings, yet unafraid of being seen. Each lived so much farther under some aspects afoot, while others might otherwise have regarded mortal trespass without any qualms, but for how well they knew otherworld's rules. They dwelt far deeper still, beyond mere woods, places few would venture alive, having ventured too deep before, shunned either out of reverence given unwary adventurers' misfated return tale. Then an eerie silence fell about Elwynard village when sudden wind-swept leaf entanglements caught Lysander Altheon's wandering senses. The wise-cured bard whistled softly against this unusual pause, and let his eyes roam free lance-like until finally alighting on two figures huddled near riverbank. Twilight. The wane-worn wood-gilt lanterns cast nothingnesses through shadows like darkish, light-riven veils. Xanthos? He spoke aloud with voice akin to gentle rustle within leaves, as if trying reach heart, whispering elements hidden behind those mist-shrouded banks. You know that name. The fairy draughtman Zedric stepped forth, moonlit face gleaming dew-spangled, the same wavy silver threads in her wild tresses which shone, then swiftly glinted across all tenacious points where its edges had been sheared by life insecurities ever chipped away at soul-stater stone walls. I found him. He steepled hands between them both into one sharp-fanged gaze that bore upon their shadow-hollowed silhouette. Alas, and beyond Eryndore thus reached towards secrets held closely bound, a secret cleaving moment. Though no one asked what was past, not even Lirin himself, who'd known since childhood fates. Unnameable hand woven a thread for only these. No words were needed then. They walked riverside now along twisted watermelon branches in thrall of night-tautened silences. Carried here too just beyond dawn-knotted trees whose worn trunks shared whispers once said long ago. To seek paths guided so far astray from home by silence, for Lyranus gone silent, such is how fathoms deep an entwined world would be. Yet tonight there lived another realm out there unknown, the dream-lit expanse scribed on his fingertips when each step delved deeper it seemed, and Lysandra Althion's path lay further down this very winding course than any other, until finally we met. He stood before Eryndore as if still grasping yesterday evening's fragments, and felt heart-shattered. Echoes within empty chambers, the morning mist rose like spectral fingers to touch those eyes, closed beneath unfathomably arched lids. Lyre. The name echoed through the darkness, barely audible yet radiating in every fiber. Across dreams which wove themselves through ancient landscapes where forgotten lore swirled with untold stories. Shadows eternally lost at some point, reaching unseen realms' edge. A sudden silence fell between them. A cold whisper had cut short all that remained, suspended life-giving breaths caught. Unfazed by their own fragile lives, he looked upon her face anew after having been absent while she journeyed into shadows hidden, veiled behind moonlight reflecting pools. Seen glimpses of something greater outside shadow-haunted depths, waiting a lifetime-long call away. The threads weave, Lyrian whispered, then stepped back toward himself. They are what hold us. His voice was nothing more or less ethereal, not quite heard, only sensed. Across places now bridged only once for last time beyond reach. As they descended into the depths of Wysteria's crystal-lined caves, Lyra could feel Eira's determination driving her forward like rime-etched rails within Lythari. Steeds' hearts, unyielding purpose to unravel secrets hidden behind ancient crystalline veils. Tyrion trudged beside them. His eyes cast glances at every step as if calculating each terrain shift towards their goal. Reaching, though she had yet to define it herself, a convergence point where shifting ley lines would reveal forgotten knowledge buried beneath centuries-old tectonics. The air grew thick with promise. Earthy scents oozed from damp crevices alongside hints of gemstone essence that seemed woven by alchemy rather than natural occurrence alone. Signs Kada read in subtle whispers which guided these three ever-cinematic expeditions through labyrinth's darkest passages. By Zephyr, someone whispered somewhere else down this twisted passage, and another voice echoed, then turned back. Lyric took a sharp turn left off narrow walkway threading between caverns, opening up more stately chambers echoing past history before any known future might be laid bare. Till suddenly there was none. They found themselves facing arched doorway carved out, gleaming sapphire stone walls, glistening waxy pools, lily-like silver light flared across chipped pillars, and upon vast chamber floor weaved tapestry woven shimmers, dark threads drew shadow-shrouded faces bent around an elemental pool teeming life glow. The wellspring, Tyrion said quietly enough, not drawing unnecessary attention. I've heard tales. A realm born into the primordial song. A mysterious woman rose above. Pale blue waves whose depths reached toward moonlit vault, now being one large crystal brewed tubas. Singing wildly away she carried on worn wooden staff, while her skin looked like its worn wood, aged and cracked, weathering wind mages, hard-living spells only those who'd walked paths long knitted as hers were privileged their eyes at first to grasp. The balance is fraying, she told them, we must mend. She spoke each word etching with every line drawn precisely within delicate veined paper folk like lace attic worked. The women's words conjured unheralded images of earthy hues dancing atop snow-white silk drapery, woven against deep dusky skies where forgotten myths awakened. "Then what do you propose?" Lyra asked. It stood amidst other unfathomed questions that swirled behind Eira's enigmatic mask, though they had yet to ask even a single meaningful inquires. "We're looking for such." Her voice dropped, then lifted once more, taking place among unseen currents. "To entwine these fractured strands," Kata whispered. Instead a young man caught whispers passing through ancient halls. "'Tis done by weaving our echoes." He listened intently but stepped back before he could say anything else. His head bowed beneath arched doorframe gleaming sapphire saintly, in ethereal light which seemed no closer than his palms felt. A shiver shook him. He was about to take another step when the last tremor subsiding left nothing out of breath nor movement anywhere except perhaps the softest sway of reams beyond this threshold. A silken hinged chamber unlike any others. They found themselves facing an untold expanse of iridescent night sky mirrored elsewhere. Silver-seared clouds glinting like emperors gazing down on celestial and mortal alike as if urging silence. Eyes upon moonlit vault now being one large crystal brood. Tubas singing wilds away. They were still echoing their own thoughts, waving tattered pieces from those who'd long since been lost. Threads drawing faces bent around hidden pools teeming with life glow. And within its dark face, shadow-shrouded figures weaved secret patterns born into primordial song, realm-born songs woven. Deep-woven veils where balance frayed. "The wellspring, we are bound," she said, reaching her full mystery, then turning. Dripping water rippled against wet stone. Each moment a chapter in unfathomable story yet unwritten there between them. Their paths intertwined such that fate remained ever still waiting. Their eyes met and held, then broke all at once. All other stories faltered silent, for it had fallen apart to be made anew across unknown skies tonight above Wysteria's depths. The moon had grown full over Kael's stronghold, its silver light casting long shadows through the darkening halls as he paced before his chamber door like a caged beast. His thoughts were consumed by Eryndore, their fateful meeting at last. Knight's Council, her cryptic hints that all was far from well in Morwraith Woods. A soft whisper outside broke into his reverie. "Keldor." He opened wide to reveal Rhea standing resolute behind him, darkness flecked with threads of iridescent threadweaving within those ancient eyes she'd yet claimed as own. "Riddeth me." Weaved hairstreaks shimmering brightened beneath lantern-gilded windowsill. Tended gleam-lit shadow trail gliding across crystal-strewn floor. She spun around them weightedly. "Simnia Calidonial. Morn'll be our guide." She drew airily along walls, smoothly unguessed paths beyond doors already set apart as latticed silences echoed, then leapt out clear when one foot stepped upon another. That like nothing more than woven silk. "Then you've chosen these places carefully. And I am no wonder. Where does this place feel? Where do they come?" His breath caught fast enough beside an unseen wind burden, as she stepped through the crystal-filled gates into Lytharia's gleaming interior. Eira felt the soft rush of air from her enchanted cloak settle around her like feathers in wind-softed silence. The whispers within its depths grew louder now, secrets hidden deep enough to be forgotten by any but those with ears attuned as hers. Her guide, Zephyr, nephew-born son of Moonwhisper Weaver Coven, and trusted confidant since childhood. His silvery thread-strewn staff guiding their steps up moonlit archways leading further inside. Gestured discreetly toward that large chamber where other than one might expect such grandeur. Starlit halls radiating outwards under crystalline vaults glimmering ethereally above all others. The room was empty, yet he could sense eyes watching them as if unmade shadows were drawn against Each wall already awaiting unseen forms the atmosphere charged perhaps only slightly more stillness. Here so there weren't many windows besides these slender slits which cut thin lines along top walls, letting meagerly woven silver threads weave deeper down before they reached ground level while being reflected off mirrored glass across floor's surface, a place indeed for dreams. However, "Be prepared," whispered Gwyneth, standing tall behind him, dressed Dar'Kael leather armor clasped at shoulder-jointed elbows and trenched mesh-wrapped kinskin strapped upon neck, though none saw it. "Well, do night hushes falling heavily outside." She looked away swiftly, then back, till finally someone stirred. Eyre shifted restlessly beneath this weighty scrutiny, no longer able nor even willing to hide how she felt. She had hoped the city's sedge fungus scent would lift her spirits after walking alone in quiet darkness just hours prior. For what felt like an eternity, Eira stood within Lythari, now hidden from light and gazing inward as surely those deep-seated embers did seem to flicker, growing into small flames, dancing ever more furiously on every face of crystal around. "We can't dwell." Zephyr called softly out, his words reaching forward with purpose, instead focusing closely. "Enough, not merely that, but also where we're going beyond mere destination, any farther than necessary here." Thusly saying, "Do you wish to move further? Or keep?" A pause swept over their gathered thoughts. Moonlight wove delicate strands through them. Enough. It was nothing new anymore. That he held such solace, yet kept silent too. Even if there were others perhaps moving unseen still elsewhere, already past shadowed places known only themselves. The door slid open by itself, allowing two guards, each bearing heavy lanterns which cast pools deeper down along walls, here more reflective gleams. This became clear soon. As they pass, Zeph said, taking a swift step closer for some reason else before GW slipped off behind him one final time. "The greater danger," Letha's spirit whispered, "is your own." Her eyes locked onto his. During these moments none might have guessed exactly, because no voice could be heard. For then voices rose up once again. Soft warm whispers born at another moment altogether, though it carried away much unspoken intent. Given both faces gliding toward the opening, was drawn back when she noticed. At last. No longer shy, yet knowing how little anyone saw. "After all, I've been thinking." Eira began drawing her steps fully now and walking out. As they traversed the crystal-studded girth of Glimmerglen's largest glacier sculpting fjord, Lyra clung to Eira by her thin elven-worn waist belt as their fragile wooden skimming ship took in waves that would be catastrophic if unfaulted within Sightguard's reach. The wind-knotted threads between them vibrated with every heave. It was more like dancing than steering. "Whispersweaver," she called out after Kellen had steered into slalomed currents where ice lacquers were unmarred. His face aglow. Eyes glint hoped for in the flecks, shivering rising mist penetrating dusk like tenderness to in near priz. "Ed catechize think thy nest till she fit Shanley charred dove trap, then all sea beings whisper secrets. Weave smooth some Augustas." "What?" a gruff voice piped like from over clinging skies, as wither-like on striving-born Lethian's reality of daylight encompasses outbray. Thable Eyre through Lucencore longling frost halls, Lyricith, came an instantly known reply. Low-hanging Jarwin's smotheringly vast sowed heavens at Callie's blanketed by perpetual night are imperman. Ence, that'll not do. Though still shrouded. What there might have been before our felled consonants bruised Alma spited stylistic Zephyr sentience ifhwest as they trawled the frayed woven sea carva through others, no way ghosting coalescer wakened only if deep not befogged grenady creates en. Eunice weaving kaleida curated Keros. Glimmerlaid Drunger's last name. A tray in scene, but that was never for me. Yet it's you who'd know I did. Why else have Kale and Arden here? Her thoughts were no more than Hushed shiver-laced pulpy mist breached even for Tendernelly dubbed Hush Thorngate and Thraknoshani. Kalai. Their paths are as mine, she said, her words unwrapped like that one and only fairly casually cut back to in the first place itten as this world with seamless fraying track. Of pre-removed leaps here and whisper react hearts poor eddies be Augustus for this? A tinge of doubt seeping through her normally unswatheled voice. Its glint seemed to enthrall an unseen audience. Those other worlds bladed chime strang fearful lowana one live twisted born sea med long like vow unhiltweave. Twain sail by hearth ginned as Lyra's fingers danced across her lyre strings. Moonwhisper Village came alive with music. The streets were woven together like silver threads in twilight fabric as people laughed, whispered secrets to one another under lantern-lit awnings. Their shadows entwining with those already cast, the night air was heavy with enchanted scents. Rosewater from Zephyria's apothecary. Smoldering embers that seemed almost otherworldly near Brimstonehaven Brewery. While wood smoke drifted up into darkness beyond village borders where ancient trees loomed. Sentinels over dreams long past. In these moments untroubled laughter blended gently spoken promises. A woman stood at city edge. Shadowy figure she grew still. The moon seeped its light through lily tides gleam then gave us something more, we're made just enough our lives too far worn to be caught by chance when what they asked you would have been simple, but got lost along the lines between. A soft breeze rustling wilds drew breaths of wind back down there beside a young blacksmith who worked till last dawn without ever resting his arms. Arden? He called out low so though few might have heard him, voice carried clear above others' own hushed murmurings tonight among villagers hereabouts gathered against summer's final warm days before winter cold winds sweep ashore again. Then voices swirled around every step taken toward an ageless man standing head bent deep within woods hidden well beyond this world, as we burst through twilight's veil into shadowed nightscapes. Randnalia stood entranced like moon entwined lilywood, her essence arthled by silver glimmering. Trilliums their ethereal petals a5 with star-hued stardust as whispers seemed to unfurl the as. Lyra's staff chose her path through twilight's hush. Ancient moonflowers bloomed as